Okay. And it's Friday and it's 12:04 and we are going to be live in That's okay. Sure. Okay. Where am I? There we go. Oh. Okay, that's not correct, but we're going to check that. It's not Friday. Yeah, no, it is Friday. Wow. Okay, here we go. Okay. Folks, we're live in 1 minute. 1 minute on this Friday. A very special guest. You're going to want to see this. I assure you. Yep. Yes, you're going to want to see this. No doubt about it. Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Yes, we'll be out tonight. Yes, we'll be out tonight. And we are live coming up in 1 minute. What an hour. This has the potential to be. Yep, potential is the operative word here. Okay, we're going to wait for our cue, but we should be good to go. Now, again, I want to remind people this is the real news at noon. The real news, not the narrative. And we're live. Folks, good afternoon. Right now at 12:06 on this Friday, you are listening and watching. It is the real news at noon. True, and it is the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. Now, I want to say good afternoon to everyone that is watching us. And let me just say, either is fine. Okay, okay. I'm going to get right to. We have a very special guest that's going to join us. And folks, I want to set this up a little bit. Again, if you have been following the news, this is something you want to hear. I've been speaking with this individual, and when I saw the Boston Globe story this morning, as the state is still reeling from what happened just last Thursday night with the little 7-year-old, I was I was very taken aback at the story in the Boston Globe because, and again, I know the writer, Amanda Milkovits. I'm not going to run from it, but as you know, with every story, I mean, there's one side, there's another side, and then in between is the truth. So, but the story in the Boston Globe, the girl wasn't the intended target. She became a shooting victim before her 8th birthday. But the story that they tell to me at the very least is incomplete. And again, as I have told you, there were 3 adults involved with this. Well, actually 4 when you count the driver, but 3 adults. And this story that they talk about and goes through into the Boston Globe. Okay, the Providence police, they do have the 2 suspects that are in custody, and we've talked about that. The 19-year-old Amari Cabrera and Shaheen Nathaniel. And but there's a missing part of this story. And folks joining us right now, and this is not easy, but I've spoken to her, and we're going to talk to her for a few minutes. But joining us right now is the mother of Amari Cabrera, and I just just bear with me one moment because I want to make sure that our volume is where it needs to be so that everyone can hear you nice and clearly, and we should be good to go. So, and if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself to everyone who's watching and listening.
Hi, my name is Nikia, and I'm Amari Cabrera's mother.
Nikia, I'm not sure if you've had a chance, with everything that's been going on, to read this story that appears in the Boston Globe. There's a lot that's left out, but what I'd like to do is first just give you a chance to say what's on your mind, say a few things, and then I'll kind of fill in the blanks and follow up some questions. So, first, why don't we? I want to just give you the opportunity to tell us and state what's ever on your mind.
Before I start anything, I do want to send my condolences, as I did that morning, Friday morning, to the family. Um, Not everybody knows this, but we all know each other. The little girl's mother, the sister, the grandmother. They're the girl's mother, not the one that passed, but the girl's mother was actually my son's daycare mother. We were friends. Um, she's in a tough situation. She has to handle some of this because she has a personal connection with Amari. Um, she is also the mother of one of my family members' child. So there's a lot of history, and not none of it has been bad up until now.
And let's just start off. Um, what has your life been like for the last week?
Lost, because not only did I wake up um, that morning I woke up to go to work. Um, and the first thing I did was I opened my Facebook because I'm in Georgia. That's how I communicate with people. That's how I make sure everybody's okay. And that was the first thing I seen, was there was something that happened to TT's baby. The baby's mother is her nickname is TT. And I sent my condolences. I'm praying for you guys. I reached out, on Facebook to her sister and her mother, and let them know I was praying. And at 3:30 in the afternoon, I get a call from one of my other children asking me, why is my son on the news?
Oh,
So
all right. Now, I'm not exactly sure what happened. We seem to have lost connection. Let's see if she comes back. And if not, she is able to come back. So we're going to come back in just a moment. Let's just pause just a moment, folks. Again, we're going to, she does have the ability to, and she may not be aware that she cut out. Again, this is live at 12:12. Um, let me just, let me just, okay. And I believe we have her back. Okay.
warm down here in
Okay.
Georgia.
Okay. Go right ahead.
Um,
Okay. You're back with us.
I didn't even know what had happened. Apparently, from what I understand, they got arrested at 10 in the morning. This was on the news by 12:30, and nobody decided to let me know anything.
Let's
It's
let, tell
it's
it. Tell
bad.
us. Tell me a little bit, if you wouldn't mind sharing. The Boston Globe story this morning doesn't have anything about the father that was driving. What can you tell us about the relationship between that individual, who I believe is 27 years old, and your 19-year-old son, Amari Cabrera?
There was a bit of history. They've had a back and forth. I'm not gonna say too much because this is still ongoing, but they do know each other. They've had run-ins before.
And I mean, would I be wrong? I was told that there was an incident. I was told by someone in that neighborhood, in that area, that about a year and a half ago, the father of the little 7-year-old Niall had actually shot at your son. Would I be wrong in repeating that information?
Not that I know of. No, you're not wrong in repeating that
Okay.
information.
Yep. The story in the Boston Globe, they they make it seem as though, there was this, and I'm not just trying to pick on the Boston Globe, but they're putting out this narrative that there was an incident at the 7-Eleven, and
Mm-hmm.
they almost make it seem as though then your son, Amari Cabrera, and his friend that was with him, that they gave chase, that Shaheem Nathaniel, they gave chase to the vehicle, and then it's like they just opened fire on the vehicle.
No,
Um,
sir.
Go ahead. What can you tell us? Which
Um, that's the opposite. It seems like everybody's getting a lot of things mixed up here, but there's a video. The police have a video of everything. And from what I've heard and my understanding is the boy had his children with him. Um, from what I hear, he went in the store. They came in the store. There was not they, only one person went in the store. They had a problem. He walked out the store, got in his car, tried it, rammed the car into the back of my son's car, then chased them. When they hopped out the car, that's when everything got crazy.
Hmm.
Crazier.
Yes. And I want to, and this is really important, folks. And again, this is the mother of one of the suspects, Amari Cabrera. And it was just last Friday afternoon, and just on the timeline, maybe word started leaking out. The first time I had heard was, it was actually from the Providence police, a little later than you had mentioned, but it was more closer to around 2:30. But this Boston Globe story of Amari Cabrera and Shaheem Nathaniel descended upon the vehicle with, the father and the children inside. It almost makes it almost comes off to me when I read that as though they were cornered and they just started firing. I've heard differently, and I believe you've heard differently.
Yep, I
Yeah.
have. And it's not coming. I honestly haven't even spoke to my son since Saturday. So it's not coming from my son. And then there are people that are talking in this social media that are letting others know what actually happened. What's true, what's false, I don't know. What I do know is my son is not who they're making him out to be. My son had just got back to Rhode Island a week and a half before this happened. He's been in Georgia with me. He went back because, to be honest, I live in the sticks in the country. It's not something a teenage kid wants to be doing unless you were born down here and
Sure.
you know. So there's a lot of missing pieces to a lot of things. Um, but my biggest thing is everyone is pointing at these two boys, but not pointing at the person who had their children in the car and instigated the problem. So my biggest thing is at the end of the day, and I will say this, the whole situation is bad. There were three people that could have stopped this at any time.
Yep.
Everyone is going to have to be accountable for their part in it. But at the same time, you got to start at the head. You got to start at the head. These events couldn't have happened if this one thing didn't happen first. And what trips me out the most is there are a lot of people, they're putting out press conferences, you know, they're putting out, listen, before you should do a press conference, you should call both sides and figure out what's really going on. Before you
Right.
paint one party as the bad guy, what happened about the aggressor? The person who initiated all this, the person who was trying to hit them with a car and then chase them down in the car. You can clearly, from what I understand on the video, you can see that the two boys jumped out of the car and then he goes after them
He
and
did. Yeah.
If what are your options when this is happening? Because a lot of people say call the police, call the police. When your car is being hit and someone is chasing you, when do you have time to think about calling the police?
Hmm.
I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but in a panic, when do you have time to think straight? When you're running for your life, when do you stop running and say, hey, I got to confront this? When do you make the decision? It has to be after a certain amount of events that happened. So everybody needs to be held accountable for their part. All I see in the news is my son and his friend. What about the father that decided to go after my child and his friend?
I'll also say, and this is not highlighted in the Boston Globe and the rest of the media, but I can tell you, um, the father who was driving the vehicle, he has a far more extensive criminal record history than the two suspects, your son and this Nathaniel. And so your son is 19 now, but when he sounds like when he was 17 was when he started to, the father who was driving, Nelson, that he had a problem with your son and would go out of his way to harass him and intimidate him. Now, again, I want to be really clear. No one is excusing what took
No.
place last Thursday night. However, I believe it should be part of the equation of
Yes,
what led
sir.
up. And what really disturbs me is in the Boston Globe, as they drove to Florence Street. Now, what they don't mention is the father was chasing them to Florence Street.
Yes, sir.
Video showed investigators what happened. The two men got out of the car, one of them being your 19-year-old son, Amari Cabrera, and drew down on the family's white Honda. The men fired multiple times, spraying the car. Now, what they leave out is your son and his friend had to, and again, I'm not justifying, but they had to jump onto the sidewalk because the father drove his vehicle. If your son had not moved, he would have been run down.
Yes, sir.
So I just don't understand why that's not even mentioned as
I'm
part of the
trying to
story.
figure
And then
out when
people
is
can discern
self-defense.
whatever they want.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out when is self-defense because they weren't paying any mind to him before this.
Well, something else. Tell us about, before I let you go. And again, folks, I want to remind people you have the father that had two children in the car. You had the two suspects, Amari Cabrera, this is his mom, and also Shaheem Nathaniel, but who's 26. Your son is clearly the younger one. They even mention Cabrera had minor criminal records, simple assault, disorderly. The father and the driver of the other vehicle, far more extensive. He's done time and so forth. But just what should people know about your son, Amari Cabrera?
What they should know is Amari went back to Rhode Island, number one, to get his life together. Um, him and his stepmother had a discussion. Amari was about to start a detailing business. Being outside and as they paint him as a hoodlum is not what it was. He had aspirations. Amari is his heart hurts because he didn't even know that there was a little girl injured until he got arrested.
Hmm.
He wanted his biggest concern was to let everybody know that he loves us. He has sisters, the young lady's age, the same exact age. That's not something he would ever that's not something he thinks about. Let me go outside and let's go okay corral. You know what I mean? He had goals, he had aspirations. And then we also discussed the fact that I don't know if you guys know this, but every day I am still plugged into Facebook and I've blocked a lot of people. But every day there's a post that comes up. And it's from the people at the Institute of Nonviolence who have done some of these news reporting thingy going on. And the news thing that comes across Facebook is 19-year-old shot, Cranston Street. 26-year-old man robbed at gunpoint, dead in the street. Every day there's a new post. Why are we okay if that post that night would have been about my child.
Hmm. I also want to mention what I've heard and what I see is your family and some of your other children have received threats and been threatened in the midst of all of this.
Yes, sir.
Touch on
Um,
that.
my family's had fake pages hitting me up, telling me we're gonna get me. He's not gonna survive. Everybody can be touched. All kinds of dumb stuff. At the end of the day, I walk in my own light. I'm a firm believer in God. What comes for me comes for me. But when you play with my children, that's a whole nother story.
Hmm. Now, I also, and again, folks, this is the mother of Amari Cabrera, one of the suspects in the tragic, horrible shooting death of little Niall, 7 years old, last Thursday night, and then passed away late Monday afternoon. Um, I also, and again, you tell us what you can, but in hearing, in being on the streets and in that area and talking to people, from what I understand, it was actually the other suspect who potentially now I get the legal element, they can say there were two people and blah blah blah, but from it's my understanding that it was actually the other individual who was the owner of the firearms and actually potentially fired the fatal shot on the little girl. I'm just wondering if you've heard the same that I've heard.
I know I haven't gotten that far into it.
Okay.
I'm actually to a point that you're the first person I'm talking to. You'll be the last person I'm talking to, because no matter what has happened, I have followed your show. People have sent me your clips. I've shut off a lot of the news.
Yeah.
I've shut off a lot of the sound coming through social media. I don't know those specific details. I don't honestly think I want to know. It makes it a little bit more real, real of who did what, I guess. But at the end of the day, there's 3, 4 families hurting.
Yep.
There's been some ignorant things. I've even seen people, send him back to his country because his last name's Cabrera. There's been, first of all, Amari's born in Rhode Island, but he moved to Georgia. He's not an immigrant, people.
Hmm.
Um, he's one of the sweetest, most helpful kids that I know. Has he had some issues? Yes. Is he a normal teenager? Yes. If you look at his charges, they've been normal boy things, fist fights, getting in trouble at school, fist fight, stuff like that. He's a boy. But at the same time, if that was anyone in his shoes and you were being chased and you were being hit with a car and a gun was pointed at you, what were you supposed to do? Let him do it and then be on the news report that a 19-year-old ran over by a car in Malice? A lot of people are reaching for a lot of things. Everybody's talking. No one has all the facts, not even us parents that were not there. The only people that know what happened were those people that were in them 2 cars. But what I do understand from everybody is that my son did not start it. But it seems like these 2 boys are the only ones being held accountable.
I think that's an important part of the equation that so far has been left out is that Amari Cabrera had been threatened in the past, a year and a half ago, even fired upon by the father, the driver of the car. You don't fire a weapon at someone unless you intend to do them harm. Again, I want to be very clear, and this is something the two of us agree on. There were three adults out on scene last Thursday night. The driver, her son Amari Cabrera, and then his friend, the other suspect, Nathaniel. Those two children obviously were innocent, but to portray this as though this is this doting father who's just trying to get his kids ice cream, and then he's being chased by these two hood gunmen who then trap the family and start firing on them. Again, that narrative is simply not accurate. I'll
No,
give you the
sir.
final word. Go right ahead.
I just want everyone to know at the end of the day, I really don't care what anyone else's opinion is, because there's a little girl that's gone And there was a little boy that had to watch that, and he's going to have to live with that for the rest of his life. Nightmares, screaming. His parent his parents are going to have to deal with this aftermath because there's going to be needing some therapy. These kids are all going to need some help. And I just want people to be mindful. Even these three are adults, but there's still a child out there that has to see these things on Instagram, on social media, in the news, on the news reports. And no one cares. No one is given a sugar honey iced tea. And I think that we all need, I have said one thing on social. I will not entertain the BS. I will not answer the threats. I will not answer the antagonizing. I think it's best to keep silent and let things happen the way they happen. But there's a lot of people making fools of themselves. And at the end of the day, I don't care what side you was on. There is another child out here that's going to need some help. And I would think that everyone would need to be mindful of that and just have some respect for that other child.
I want to tell you, I appreciate you coming on. I am hearing from some of your son's friends that he does have a story to tell. He does want to tell his story. So we're going to wait and see how this plays out. But thank you for taking the time to talk to us. And again, I'm going to talk to you again soon.
You have a great day.
Okay. Now, folks, there it is. That is the mother of Amari Cabrera. And I want to be very clear, folks. I am just putting out, you're adults, I'm putting out the whole story and both sides of the story. As I started to say, I know Amanda Milkovich. I respect Amanda Milkovich. We have someone from the Boston Globe on the program every week. But I was very surprised when I read this story in the account of as they drove to Florence Street just around the corner. Two men got out of the car, drew down on the family's white Honda. Well, the men fired multiple times. But what they leave out is the father, Nelson Pyers, who got into the argument with them at 7-Eleven on Manton Avenue and was going after them, chasing them. I'm just not sure why this was left out. Now, they name him Nelson Pyers. I haven't named him. I was actually going to wait until after the funeral for the little girl. He has a very extensive criminal record. He's done time. To say he's known to the police is an understatement. I can't be more crystal clear that, like many of you, we all do feel terrible about the little child. But this business that somehow that he's just going, first we had heard snacks for second grade. Now we're hearing ice cream. Now we're hearing, he's going to the store to get his kids ice cream. Now these two thugs are chasing Nelson Pyers and his two little kids, and then they corner them and then draw down and just start firing like it's the Sopranos. And like, that's not what happened here. So, and I want to repeat, like, of course, everyone, when police rushed to the scene, he flagged them down, as opposed to what? Ran? Yeah. Did he call police? No. Did he cooperate with police at Hasbro? No. Did he give the names of the two suspects? No. Terrible. Second grade, Pleasant View Elementary. She would have walked her brother to first day of kindergarten, celebrated her 8th birthday. Folks, I want to be very clear. I think that, again, I believe you are best served in hearing all elements of the story. All elements of the story. If you don't have all elements of the story, then this is really frightening. If we're to believe the media account, which I just don't think I don't think it tells the full picture. If you don't hear the full media account, it makes it seem, which would be very frightening, that a father goes to take his two kids for whatever, Slurpees or Softies or whatever they're called at 7-Eleven, and then they're chased by these two gunmen that then now that's really frightening. What I also just want to understand, and folks, I want to stay on track here on this Friday. What I want to be very clear is, and I don't know if everyone understands that, many times, and maybe it's just not explained enough, but many times when you hear, and we're at a press briefing, and whether it's Deputy Chief O'Hara or Providence Police Chief Oscar Perez or whoever, Commander Senator Padalano, or maybe it's David Lapidus, they will say it was targeted. And maybe not everyone fully gets that, but there's a difference of some people come out of the PPAC, they're walking to their vehicle, and suddenly someone walks by and boom, now that is terrifying. That gets people to say, oh my God, you can't even go to the PPAC. When they say targeted, it's the individuals know each other. So it's not the general public. What I believe has been missing from this, and I'm so glad his mother came on to talk about it, was if you didn't know any better and read to me like the Boston Globe story, you would think, what is this world coming to? You can't even look at this guy. He's a father. He's trying to take his kids for ice cream. Suddenly, these two guys start chasing him. They get out with guns. Now, again, that's not what happened. Nothing is going to bring the little girl back, but that's clearly not what happened. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Remember, locally sourced vegetables, sweet corn, native tomatoes. They have it all. Stop in and see them. 3688 Quaker Lane in North Kingstown. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. Screen loom, mulch are available, pickup and delivery. They're open 7 days a week. Annuals, perennials, trees and shrubs. Gift certificates are available. Stop in and see them. It's PR Landscape Materials and Garden Center. I also want you to recognize, that's interesting, the mother said, I've been watching your show. I didn't know that. You know, you seem to be the only one that's giving the full story of what happened here. There's a growing shrine. Listen, everybody feels terrible about the 7-year-old, but I want to repeat, I know we're not doing the story justice if we go with this narrative, which frankly, if you don't know the backstory, it's more frightening. Now, as I had mentioned, when you have a situation, someone is 26 years old, 27 years old, 25 years old, and they're threatening a teenager, that's a problem. If they're firing a weapon at a teenager, that's a problem. I want to be crystal clear. I'm not making any excuses here. As I've repeatedly said, there were 3 adults on that scene that night, and it was the father driving and then the 2 suspects. Those children were let down by those 3 adults. I think that's fair. I think that's accurate. But no one can say, because as I have mentioned, the other scenario is terrifying. If you heard a young father, I'm just totally, but like a young father, he brought his kids up to Federal Hill. They were going to get a pizza. The next thing they know, they're being chased, going back to their car, and then one of the kids is shot and get. Then it's like, oh my God, you can't even go to Federal Hill anymore. That poor father, poor family. Except then if you filled in the blanks that actually, you know, the father knew the gunman, the father with the kids was chasing the gunman, and then there was some kind of an altercation. Now, there are scenarios. That guy that stole the Jeep from the Kenny Chesney concert in Gillette, he was loaded. He stole a Jeep. He crashed into that family in Plainville. They didn't know each other. There was no connection. None. Maya Brophy Behrman, walking to her car on Olney Street, didn't know the gunman. Boom, open fire. They killed it. Didn't know them. Boom, mistaken identity. So all I'm trying to point out is there is a difference between known and unknown. The 18-year-old that was just killed on Road Street the Sunday night, we were there on his 18th birthday. It's my understanding that he knew, that's what I've been told, he knew who it was that was coming after him. So, but I also want to be very clear. I understand the sensitivity. No, I can't imagine losing a 7-year-old and what the family's going through. And I'm not saying this is the time to talk about, you know, um, the criminal record of the father. However, when the media is putting out this narrative that it's not exactly, you know, Ward Cleaver or Mr. C, I think it deserves to be corrected. Folks, this portion of our program, remember, if you're having a problem with your feet, stop into Greenville Foot and Ankle, Smithfield Medical Center, Route 5 in Smithfield. They're the best. They can help you, all aspects of foot care, skin condition, bunions, hammer toe. They treat injuries like fractures and sprain, digital x ray on site. They take all health insurance. It's Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. Call them 401 949 3220. 401 949 3220. Greenville Foot and Ankle Specialists. Well, folks, good afternoon. You're listening. Now, when I say that um, when I say that there is, oh, right, okay. This is someone just said, there's no excuse for putting out the full story. I'll look at YouTube, social media. They could do long form. That's right. I'm telling you. Yes, thank you. When I say it's the real news at noon, it's the real news at noon. And like I said, now I run into Amanda Milkovich of the Globe, and I get the Channel 10. Listen, it's heartbreaking. We're all still upset. I said last Thursday night, the police were upset. Last Monday night, when I broke the news that the little child had passed away, of course, my God, I couldn't sleep like many of you Thursday night. But the media, it almost seems like they're jumping onto this narrative. Let's just, the guy lost his daughter. We're just going to pin everything on the two suspects. They're gonna face penalty under the law. They're gonna have to deal with that. But time out on going to get them ice cream and like, hold on a minute. All right, now, folks, as I have told you, last night we were doing road patrol. There was a supposedly mistaken gunshot wound to the head. I'm not exactly sure how that happens, but it apparently happened. It's not your mistake, or excuse me, I don't think you're imagining things if you don't understand that there is things are ticking up, let alone now the Venezuelan gangs that have their sights set on the ocean state. So what I try to do, and let's see, I don't know if he can talk to us or if he's jammed, but I want to see if we can reach my gun guy, and that's George at Rhode Island Gun and Ammo, just for a minute. Because, folks, I can't stress enough the importance, unless he's with a customer, of getting some of these, especially. Oh, okay. All right. Well, then maybe he's with a customer. But people are asking me, and he has these defensive shotguns. And I'm not sure what else to tell people, because the situation, the police can't be everywhere. And as much as in some of these situations, and most of them, these individuals do seem to know each other, it's not every situation. It's not every situation. So many times, as I've told you, I can tell you what really frightened many people that I know was that guy that suddenly was trying to do a carjacking on a Sunday morning of a man that was pulling out of his car. He was in his garage in East Greenwich. He was going to go to church, and suddenly there's a guy with a knife, and he's trying to do a carjacking. That got a lot of people's attention. So we'll see if we can reach George at Rhode Island Gun and Ammo right there on Post Road. Folks, he is so knowledgeable. You just want to say it's right near Cosmic Pizza. It's less than a mile from Greg's on Post Road in Warwick. Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. And by the way, he just redid the store. It's beautiful. But I believe people need to realize the police, they can't be everywhere. And a lot of the crime that McKee and Matos are allowing in, it's going to start to leak out to some of the suburbs. Folks, this portion of the program is brought to you by Valari Motors. Remember, they specialize Volvo sales and service, quality pre-owned vehicles. Stop it and see Paul. Largest selection of Volvos in Rhode Island, located 1003 Park Avenue in Cranston. It's Volare Motors. Remember, great prices, tremendous vehicles, safe vehicles, great service. Volare Motors in Cranston, New England's #1 dealer in pre-owned Volvo sales and service. And you could also trade in your vehicle there. Stop in and see Paul Staskavich. And also, he's got a great mechanic with Stephen at Volare Motors, 1003 Park Avenue in Cranston. Well, folks, good afternoon. Again, that was, it's not easy to talk to someone in that situation. I give her a lot of credit. That is her son. It's not easy speaking with the family members of this. I want to be, I don't think I need to have to keep saying and why you talk to someone like that, but, and we were going to wait. I just think so far, and maybe the media has different reasons why they want to do that. And I get that. Terrible. No, I can't imagine. And you heard the compassion and empathy for little Niall's 5-year-old brother that was sitting right there in the car. But again, I also come back to, like, what are you doing? Why are you engaging with those two? You know, you're 27 years old. There's a 19-year-old kid, and then I don't know these individuals, but you're going to get something at 7-Eleven. Then whatever, go home, have dinner, and deal with them later. The whole thing is just so avoidable. And I'm not blind to the fact, I'm sure forever, the father will live with that he should have just gone home. That maybe that wasn't the time to instigate. I get that. But this business, I'm just put off by the narrative in the Globe of, and then they drew down. I mean, I know that he ran the car at them. Again, I want to be crystal clear, I'm not making excuses, because I'm not. But, the two men got out of the car and drew down on the white Honda. Fired multiple times, spraying the street in the car, hitting Niall as she sat with her young brother in the back seat. Hey, listen, both of the kids could have been killed. That could have been a triple homicide. Let's be very clear. That could have been a triple homicide. The two shooters, they could have killed the father and both kids. What type of story would that be? I'm not defending anybody. What am I calling for? I'm calling for, let's get the full story out there. And by the way, the father, Nelson, first time, by the way. I'll give Nelson Pyers, first time. I'll give Amanda credit for that. First time we're seeing his name in print. That could have been a triple homicide. What if they didn't miss? What if they were better shots? What if they were dealing with that? Then is it worth it? What's the beef over? What was it over? Then you're like going at them that way. Catch up with them later. Let me try George one more time. He could be with a customer. Next Tuesday night is the debate. We'll talk about that next week. Let me see if I can reach George at Rhode Island Gun and Ammo. And also, I think what also is remarkable, if we can get him, he could be with a customer. It's very possible. Oh. Nope. All right. Maybe it's not meant to be. I wanted to just call him just because, folks, that father in Georgia, like, what, the kid, the FBI visited your home because he was threatening to shoot up a middle school, and the father gives him a high-powered weapon for Christmas? Really? Didn't want to maybe set of golf clubs? Give him a hobby, maybe? Maybe a new baseball glove? How about some rollerblades? I don't know, new bike? That's what you give the troubled 14-year-old? Again, I recognize not everybody's missed to see, but from Happy Days. All right. Linda said she's thinking of updating her kitchen. Who's the company that I recommend? Wow. Dreammaker, Bath and Kitchen. Dennis and Christina. Call them 401-433-7272. They have a beautiful design center right there, Greenwich Avenue in Warwick, right near Crown Plaza. Dream Maker. They take you from concept to completion. They do it all, obviously. One stop shop. Remember, respect, integrity. They are tremendous at customer focus. If you're listening or watching on this Friday and you've been thinking, maybe it's time to upgrade the bathroom or the kitchen, Dream Maker Bath and Kitchen. Transition from dreams to reality and experience upgraded living. All I ask is put them in the mix. If you're thinking of upgrading your kitchen or bath, give them a turn at bat, right? Dream Maker Bath and Kitchen, 401 433 7272. Dennis and Christina at Dream Maker, and they're located right in Warwick on Greenwich Avenue, right near Crown Plaza. Well, folks, good afternoon. You are listening to the John DePietro Show. It's AM 1380 and 99.9 FM. I did mention, so Tuesday night, I wish the entire election doesn't come down to Tuesday night, but the entire election could come down to Tuesday night. This race for the White House update is brought to you by J. Perry Paving. Let's see. Tim asked me about who should he call to get his driveway paved. Call letter J, Perry Paving, 401 732 1730. 401 732 1730, letter J, Perry Paving. High quality, fair pricing, exceptional service, free estimate, letter J, Perry Paving, 401 732 1730. Well, folks, good afternoon. You're listening. It is the John DePietro Show. Now, remember, this show, our entire show is on demand. So, in especially the noontime, we're live on YouTube. We're live on X. Obviously, live on Facebook. If you missed it, that was pretty dramatic. Hearing from the mother of, it was just last Friday we learned and heard the name Nikia Cabrera, the 19-year-old suspect, the two suspects that shot and the little girl, 7 years old. We did speak with the mother. You can watch it. It'll then, when we finish, this will be available and it's posted. I want to be very clear. Obviously, the main focal point here, as if I haven't said it enough, though, is on the horrible loss and death of the little 7-year-old. We have more video and more on the story than anybody on the website, depetro.com. But I do, to be on, there is definitely a narrative that is emerging in the media regarding how things went down. And all I'm suggesting is let's put everything out. Let's put everything out with the actions of the father. And then obviously, the two shooters are sitting at the ACI as we speak, the two suspects, I should say. So, but again, folks, now Tuesday is primary day in Rhode Island, and then Tuesday night is potentially the first and only debate for the White House. And this White House update brought to you by Propane Plus. For all your propane needs, call them today, 401 885 4209 or 508 252 3359 for Propane Plus, and find them online at propaneplus.com. Now, we're going to try, he may be, let me just text. Because what I'd like to do is, when so many of you reach out to me saying, with all of some of the violence and the shootings I'm hearing about, I'm thinking of that maybe this is the time to, at the very least, get a self-defense type of weapon. I'd like to point you in the right direction. And I did hear from a number of people when they heard George from Rhode Island Gun and Ammo right there on Post Road, at how inexpensive some of these weapons can be. And again, keep in mind this, and by the way, this can be any type, but specifically for those that want protection in their own home. Because, look at the events of just in the last 10 days, 2 weeks, you had the situation in Cranston, armed home invasion. They stole the guy's Ferrari, trying to steal the Corvette as well, but they stole the Ferrari. Then you have the situation in Cranston, Tuesday night, where that guy starts opening fire in the neighborhood. That got a lot of people's attention. And then obviously some of the ongoing violence that we're hearing about in the capital city and surrounding. So, and what is very clear is the amount in influx. There he is. All right, folks, joining us on the line right now is our friend from Rhode Island Gun and Ammo. It's our friend George. Good afternoon, George. Happy Friday.
Hey, John. Happy Friday. How you doing today?
Very good. Now, George, the reason I won't keep you, I'm sure you're busy on this Friday. First of all, just but anyone that is listening, what is the best way for you to describe for people to find Rhode Island Guns and Ammo?
Well, again, we're located in Warwick, 1175 Post Road. So if you come right off of 37, we're about 3 blocks down on your left-hand side. Can't miss us. We got big flags that say guns on them flying out in front.
Yep. And also right down but from you're not far from Greg's, and you're also not far from Cosmic Pizza as some landmarks. George, again, people out there, they're hearing home invasion in Cranston, Ferrari stolen. The other night in Cranston, stay with Cranston, Tuesday night, you had a guy that started firing into the neighborhood. If you could just touch on if people would come in, you certainly could point them in the right direction as far as self-protection at their home.
Absolutely. I mean, in just about any price range that you're looking to spend, we have new, we have used, and we've got the time. So we'll explain it to you. We'll explain what the difference between a rifle and a shotgun is, what the difference between a handgun and for home protection and a shotgun would be, and you can make the best decision for yourself in that manner, and feel pretty good about your purchase.
I like how you've also mentioned, people have all kinds of insurance, but if you're a business owner, boy, this could be a very necessary investment.
It is. I mean, honestly, I don't understand how you could own a business and not own a firearm, especially with the nonsense that goes on in the world today. People just don't think twice about walking into a store, and they'll size you up. And if they think they can get over on you, they're going to get over on you. And, what do you have to defend yourself with? You can call the cops, but they ain't going to be there in the time it's going to take for somebody to, rob you, make a mess out of your business, possibly injure you, injure your loved ones, injure your employees, and then, put your business out for who knows how long.
We know, and I'm not trying to bring up a sore point, but with your business, George, that was 75 seconds in and out.
Yeah, actually it was 68. Exactly.
68.
It was
Wow.
68 seconds exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
So they drove through the front of the building. Within 68 seconds, they stole 25 firearms, and they were gone, never to be seen again.
What are your hours for What are your hours for today, and what are your hours for tomorrow, Saturday?
Today we're open from 12 to 6, and tomorrow from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m.
All right. I'm going to see you later this afternoon. George, keep up the good work. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir.
All right, folks, there it is. George at Rhode Island Gun and Ammo, my gun guy, Post Road in Warwick. And again, remember those Venezuelan gangs, as we've first reported, they are making inroads into Rhode Island. Folks, if you want, I'll meet you over there, but you owe it to yourself, your business, your family at Rhode Island Guns and Ammo. Now, let's see if we can reach our friend Marie at It's My Health, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland. And seemingly, folks, and also a lot of people, COVID is definitely back, whether people like it or not, and the change of the season. And this is a time to remain healthy. And let's see if we can.
It's My Health. This is Marie.
There she is on this Friday. It's the Queen of Health. Good afternoon, Marie. And Marie, we are approaching the change of season, and a lot of people could use some healthier alternatives to stay healthy.
We are already getting people in who are not feeling well, so we really need to get right back. A lot of people take the summer off for taking a lot of their vitamins and their immune-supporting supplements. It's time to get back to it because it's already hitting. We're already getting it.
Now, Marie, what are some of the things that you could recommend for someone that's struggling right now?
Well, definitely vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc. Those are some of the key things. Quercetin, even some colostrum could help. echinacea. So there are formulas that have a lot of those things in them. And one of our favorites has been on back order for a while and is supposed to be coming back next week, which is a nice, like a lozenge, so it's easy to take. But that's what I would recommend.
Folks, it's Marie. It's My Health, 1099 Mendon Road in Cumberland. The change of season is upon us with the fall season. Marie, what are your hours for today and what are your hours for Super Saturday?
We'll be here till 5:30 today and tomorrow from 9 to 4.
You are the queen of health. Keep up the great work and we'll talk to you longer next week.
Okay, take care.
All right, folks, again, it's the John DePietro Show. Now, here's what we're going to do. We have another hour of the radio show to go. We will be doing Road Patrol Live later. Right now, let's break for the 1 o'clock news. Again, another full hour to go of real news right here, back on the other side on the John DePietro Show.